You know, if I'm going to lose everything, at least I want to know that it was my fault. I want to understand where stuff is going.
Have you ever lost money on a deal and why? And looking back, should have done something differently?
You want to be willing to take the risk and not be afraid of it. But you have to be okay with failing or things not going well, and even change that definition. So the more you can just move on quickly, the faster your success rate will be.
For you personally, what was the best movie you feel you ever done?
Best movie I've ever done. That's hard to answer. I think.
What about it's a great crowd, over 1,000 people? Is that good?
Crowd, yeah.
By the way, you look very gloomy.
Oh, yeah.
First of all,
See everyone. How's everyone feeling tonight? Great to be with you.
First of all, you look amazing.
Thank you.
Look amazing.
You gave me a hard time the last time I wore a leather jacket.
Yeah, yesterday you looked like 2 days ago, you looked like a log.
Man of the people, man of the people. You can't always
First
dress
of all,
to
I
impress.
started carry on. The fact that this is not wrinkled in the way it did, but you know, you let me open up your jacket.
No, I feel comfortable. What do you? Is this gonna get unprofessional and uncomfortable?
Well,
What's happening?
Yeah, yours is not there. See, you're so close to my heart, Vince.
Yes. Oh, look at that.
I have you right here.
There it is.
And when I'm lonely, I feel like a cuddle. You know what I mean?
Whatever makes you get through the day, I don't need to know about it, but that's exciting. That's exciting. That's exciting. Yeah. Yeah, you got a lot of photos of a lot of people, and you say snugly, I'm understanding. You know, you don't always have to share everything going on inside. Some things are okay just to keep for yourself, but it's a safe place. I'm glad you shared it.
I know, but I thought you and I, in the plane, you said like we're yin and yang.
I don't know, yin and yang's a strong word, but I'll go with that. Yin and yang, sure. 2 words, two
Or you called me a
words.
yin yang, so I thought it was a yin yang.
Something.
What a great conversation we had yesterday on the plane, and just it was just like the whole time just talking business, and there's so many different facets of you that people don't know. And I talked to this before. People are like, Vince, A-list actor. What am I going to learn? His knowledge base on properties, business, trusts, diversification of assets, buying land. Do you ever feel that sometimes people see, like, say, a movie like Wedding Crashers, or they see some movies or Swingers, and they're like, they think that's what it is, but you're really playing a part, and there's much more to it. Does that ever bother you, or you're like, you don't care because that's part of the mystique of being an actor, not knowing everything I do?
Yeah, no, it doesn't really bother me. I think when you're playing a part, you're really trying to convey that part. And then I think all of us in life, as you go forward, you're always looking for better ways of doing stuff and learning things. And that's part of what keeps life fun and engaging is, you know, going into situations that you may not have been comfortable with and trying to learn more. So, yeah, I really think that's separate. You know, as an actor, you try to, you know, perform. It's like a craft. But then, you know, I heard of so many people who lost their money or weren't really on top of it, and they were really counting on business managers and had bad experiences. So I figured, you know, if I'm going to lose everything, at least I want to know that it was my fault. I want to understand where stuff is going.
Have you ever lost money on a deal and why? And looking back, should have done something differently?
You know, I've been fortunate, not too much. The times I've lost is if I've gotten in with a friend I was trying to support, you know. But I don't really invest in that way. I'm not looking for grand slams or home runs. I really don't want to lose my money, find things that can, you know, go up over time and bring in some passive income. So it's not like I'm spending my time in a way where that's my full-time job. I really bought a lot of property. I bought gold years ago when I started to figure out sort of how money works, and so no, I haven't overly, but I have tried to invest with friends, and you know, you learn something from every experience. Sometimes those are not worth the price, but it's a price you pay to learn stuff.
So Vince, you're and I've said this before publicly, that the way you are backstage is very similar to your roles in a movie. You're like funny, hilarious, busting balls, jokes. A lot of people that come in and they play a role and they're like, oh, it's not that person as well. Was that always your intention as an acting, to either take roles that you feel that they fit your personality? Obviously, the last one you played some killer in a jail, which was a little weird seeing you.
Very close to heart.
Yeah, very close to heart, with the tattoo on your neck and stuff like that. I definitely won't be putting that picture here.
That's right. Don't want to snuggle with that.
Don't want to snuggle with that too, which was very different. It's hard because I just see you as the life of the party, right? And that's the Vince Vaughn kind of. Do you take roles that fit that, or say, this is the way I am, I'm going to be who I am, but I'm going to be on the screen, and maybe elevate it a little bit more?
Yeah, as an actor, for me, I was so far removed from the industry when I started. I just wanted to work. So I was happy to get a commercial, a line on a television show, anything. I didn't really have a plan other than get better and try to get jobs. So as far as doing different roles, I realized as I got older, when I do things that are different, it's exciting for me. You don't want to feel like you're always repeating yourself. So I've had the good fortune of doing more dramas. I shot a movie, Hacksaw Ridge, which we shot here actually in Sydney, which was fun. And then you mentioned the Zoller movies like Brawl. So I like doing things where you're kind of, getting a little out of your comfort zone. It forces you to focus. And the comedies were a lot of fun. I still, will go back and do comedies. And it's just a different kind of skill set. But I think really you try to bring a piece of yourself, your life experience to parts that you're playing. But as an actor, sometimes you're not going to have all experiences, so you use your imagination to kind of come up with a backstory or something that can connect you to whatever the character's gone through.
So I'm asked questions I never asked. And I think that's the great thing about, I don't like asking the same question, which makes it more fun for the both of us. And I've never asked it, and we did this in 2019, and now we did it yesterday, we're doing it today, we're doing it tomorrow. For you personally, what was the best movie you feel you ever done?
Best movie I've ever done. That's hard to answer. I think whichever one you did at the time that went well. When we did Swingers, that was such a big deal because
that's so old.
It's so old, but we made the movie. I mean, really, we sort of launched ourselves by making that movie. So it was such an incredible thing for you and your friend to have a screenplay and try to make it, and then actually make it and have it get seen.
When you did it, did you think you're going to make it? Because you just finished a movie with Al Pacino last week.
Yes.
I had Al at my event. And I'm like, it's a hit. Like, say hello to my little friend. And he's like, my little friend. Like, like he says, you don't know how it catches at the moment.
Right.
You ever do a movie, you're like, yeah, that's really good. Or because movie, as both fellow actors,
Yes.
we, Hollywood Fox.
You know what it is.
You know what it is.
You know what it is.
It's very, you do the scenes and it's not put together. But like, this is going to hit. Did you know Swingers? Like you did it, and like that's gonna hit, or you still don't know until the final editing.
We felt pretty confident that we liked it. I guess we were optimistic at the time because, I had come from improv in Chicago and had performed on stage a lot, so I thought I had a good barometer for what people found funny. But you do never know. There's so many things that have to go well for that to happen. But I've been on sets and felt like things were going well, and sometimes it doesn't all come together. And you've been on other movies where you thought, I'm not sure, is this struggling? And it turned out great. So I don't know that I'm
a favorite.
Each of them at the time. I mean, I had fun.
Not now. Looking back now,
looking back, it's hard to pick one. I mean,
pick one. Why can't you pick one?
Well, because it just doesn't kind of process like that. Like I said. Whether it was Dodgeball or Old School or The Breakup or Hacksaw or any Wedding Crashers, when you make those movies and you go on the ride and the experience when audiences and people get to see those films and connect with them, it's almost more important that the movies get into the culture, even more than box office. Some things just become a fabric of a language, and there's something that's exciting about, creating something and sharing it with people. So it's hard to look back and say there's one because it kind of becomes these different moments in time.
So for us, we both know Cole Hauser from Yellowstone, both
Yes.
friends of ours.
Yes.
He says he never rewatches the movie he does or the show. He just does not. He likes to move on, maybe because it's too critical. Do you rewatch yourself when everybody else? Are you looking at it in the editing room? Or you get feedback? What's your process there?
Well, some of the movies I edit, so some of the movies I'm with far longer than shooting them. And I think it's true for most actors. It's such a long process, and sometimes if you go to film festivals, you see the movie so many times that you really don't go back and watch it. There's a lot of the movies I'm fortunate that I like the movies, and so I'm happy to, it's not like I have a problem watching it. It's just that you spend so much time on it and you've made it. So I don't seek out, I don't go and like put one in, right. But I have come across them, just flipping through the channels and
you
visit it.
You look at yourself like, what was I doing there? Thinking.
No, I'm not really critical that way. No, it's not that. It's just that it's such a process and it's such a long process in making it. But if I come across something and people stop, I don't have a problem with it. But I don't go and revisit it. There's so much time spent in the making of it that it's not something I would be interested to go and just on my own go watch.
So I think having done acting, because I fund the movie, so you can be in any movie when you fund the movie, right?
I guess that would be a
it's
hard no for a director if you had paid for the movie. I could see that being a yes,
to say, listen.
And then your style and charm takes over.
By the way, tomorrow in Brisbane, I'm going to show you all my scenes, and you're going to get to critique them.
You know, I'm super busy tomorrow. But yes, we'll find some.
Do I get a credit? Do I get a credit? You want to leave tonight? It's a lot harder than people think, right? And so a lot of people just think it's just memorizing lines. It's if you had to describe someone how hard acting is, or unless you think it's easy, but I imagine you think it's hard, right? I think everybody thinks they could do it.
Right.
So describe to people, to someone who doesn't really know, the hardships of acting.
Well, I think it's a little bit of both. I think anyone can do it, but I also think that it's a journey that you have to really want to take and be prepared for, not dissimilar from anything. It's a skill. It's like there's no one out here that couldn't become comfortable with public speaking, no matter how, whatever your experience was younger and whatever meaning you bring to it. It's a skill that you can learn if you're willing to take those steps. So I think the things that are challenging with acting, like any profession, is just, auditioning for parts, trying to find an agent. Sometimes you have to be creative or hit a scene when it's been a long day, but there's so many good things and gifts that come with acting that, for me, that the experiences, the opportunity to explore yourself and human nature is so fun that the good outweighs the bad. But anything you do, like, for you, putting together these events and bringing people and, trying to organize and make sure everyone has fun. It's a passion. You love helping people and giving people information, but it comes at a price. It does. You travel, you have to be away from things, you have to work, and then you're dealing with different personalities. So obviously the tipping point is that you get more joy out of it, but I'm sure with this there's things that you find challenging as well.
It's interesting. When we did the 2019, I said that to you, the banter back and forth, the role playing, the swingers thing, was probably like the event highlight of my life, right? Everyone still talks about this, and we were just talking about how we just do an interview. It's great content, but nobody remembers that. They remember just like Al Pacino, say hello to my little friend, or I kill a communist for free, but for a green card, you remember the moments.
Yeah.
Like the shout, the wedding crasher. I think for me was like the wedding scene and then the ladies, like for some reason, that's what really life is about. It's creating moments.
Yeah.
And that's why I always say yes to anything that's once in a lifetime. Yesterday you met Simon Grill, the founder of Grill, never does this, and came obviously because of you. A lot of other successful people backstage and surprises at the cocktail party tonight. But did you ever get a coach to improv and this to your craft, right? To say, how do I master the craft? Did you do that? And tell us to that experience.
It's an interesting journey. I think everyone can relate to it. It's good to take in information. You can learn from people. But ultimately, you have to be thinking for yourself and decide what works for you. There's always more than one way to the waterfall. So people learn differently. They do stuff different. So I've been fortunate. I had a lot of very successful, good acting classes and coaches. But sometimes I wouldn't agree with everything. I take some things. It's almost like Frankenstein. You take the stuff that works for you. So I think it's important to have good coaches, but you always want to have your own opinion. Like, you never want a scene in an acting class to end and then be waiting to see what the teacher thinks to decide how you feel about it. You always want to be first checking in with yourself and kind of getting your own temperature on it. Doesn't mean that the teacher won't say something that changes your mind or adds value to it, but it's really a combination of learning information and then running it through your own system and seeing what you like and having the ability to evaluate yourself, to be able to say, I'm sure for you coming off stage and doing these events, feedback's important, but don't you usually know when you feel like you've connected with an audience?
Yeah, I do. I think my biggest problem is, like, for me, it's so easy to see business. It's like someone you know whether they have the chops or not to act. In business, you and I, you were working on a deal, literally texting a deal on the plane. We're in the lounge, and you're like, what do you think about this offer? I might put this offer, say this, and then the difference, I call my money guys, say, how do we structure it?
Good advice.
Right, and the point is, there's so many people who are trying to do it themselves, and at the end of the day, they have this thing like, okay, going to acting class is going to cost me. Going to an event is going to cost money and experience. It doesn't. But without you, which costs a lot of money, which rightfully so, your time and all everything like that, is without you, nobody comes. So, but without you, I don't meet Gretzky. because when we say Gretzky, I was like, I had Vince Vaughn. He goes, oh my God, I love Vaughn, so just finish. And that made it easier because obviously you're a huge thing. And then backstage, I was connecting with Brady, and he was talking about doing the commercial. And so many people, Cole Hauser from Yellowstone. Oh, I had Vince, okay. You know, and I said, hey, this is what I did with Vince. Can we do it on stage? He goes, oh, Vince did it. And I think this notion is that people think that there's no such thing as a self-made man or woman. Even when I acted, I just got an acting coach and spent all day. And it was weird because some people said, be yourself. Other people said, don't be JT Fox. You're not JT Fox. There's not a seminar. You're not speaking. You need to act, which is different. And if I had that acting, I don't think I would have nailed that part and get the respect, as opposed to, oh God, you're just there because the guy owns paid for the movie. So the craft of betterment, because it's not what you know, it's what you don't know that hurts you, right? Like I would say, like, Vince, I want to be an actor. You know, I want to do what you do. Or let's just say comedy, right? I think comedy is more thing. That is a hard thing. And I'd go to you, who, by the way, that's how you started in comedy or improv. What do I need to do? And what not to do? You were in the hardest comedy market of Chicago. Some of the greatest, Bellucci, and in the improv world, I mean, you know, if you don't make it, you're gone, right? The margin of error. So that learning process for you, how do you're an astute? Even volleyball, hearing you on the phone yesterday, seeking who are the best coaches in volleyball? What are the best schools? Right. What is the best way? You're like so trying to get the best of everyone, getting those pieces of information as opposed to saying, well, let me just try it myself, because failure is not an option, because failure can set you back forever.
Yeah, I think it's both. Like I said, I think you really want to seek out people that know a lot, that have experience. You want to, you want to watch others and see what they did that worked for them or didn't. But then, you know, a shoe that fits them might be too tight or too loose. You're always going to have to take those pillars and ultimately go out into the woods by yourself and figure out what it works. So it's a combination of information, good coaching, and then trial and error. You know, you have to put these things to use. It's the difference between project learning and a classroom. If you're just taking a test and memorizing vocabulary words or how you do something, it's not the same as putting it to use. So, you know, hearing instructions important, but then getting up and doing it is also important. So I think it's both. And I have a philosophy on this, which is kind of on both ways, which is you want to be willing to take the risk and not be afraid of it. But you have to be okay with failing or things not going well, and even change that definition. So the more you can just move on quickly, you know, learn from what you did right, learn from what you did wrong, and then approach it again, the faster your success rate will be. When you stop or get paralyzed, which we all can understand, those fears and doubts, but it's like you want to push yourself, but kind of be easy on yourself at the same time.
I'm going to take a risk now. Are we friends?
Yeah, I'd say we're friends.
You want to elaborate more?
Well, the word friend means so many things to so many different people, but to me it means someone you get along with and that you have some trust with, yeah.
Can you say it again for the camera? No, I mean, listen, you're such a fun guy to be around. Part of the thing that I like about Vince, and you're about to see what no one has ever done in the history of any interviews I've done, and I've done 19 mega successes, which tracks the big name. Vince was there. Part of why Vince decided to come back, he goes, remember that thing where you brought people from the audience to ask me questions? Not like in the audience with the microphone, hello Vince, you know, and like to really be able, because you guys don't understand, this right here is the most powerful seat in the world. This doesn't happen. Vince only gives interviews if he has to for part of the media thing. This is life, once in a life opportunity, and Vince loves that. And he's about to do something that no one has ever done, and you're about to be wowed about his immense authenticity. He's one of the most real person I know, maybe a huge star. When you walk by the airport, everybody recognizes them just walking. Such a great heart. And it doesn't matter if it's the flight attendant or, you know, big CEO. Vince is such a great person. And so I wanted to bring some people on this stage because that was part of our agreement, so that you can really know how the branding, this once in a lifetime will last forever. So I wanted to bring some people there.
Please.
I'd love to interview you for the whole time. But I think part of it is paying it forward. So I really appreciate it. First of all, isn't it great that Vince is here?
Oh, great to be here.